Alrighty, guys. We're going to give everyone a couple moments to get connected here before we get this party started, if you will. Thanks for joining us through the radio show there. I appreciate everybody sticking with us. Of course, at the end of the show, like always, we get a flood of calls. And so I was like, oh, we've been looking for calls the whole show. So I want to get to as many of these callers as I possibly can. Well, then we ran out of time for the story that I had planned for the segment. So we'll have to cover that one here in the After Schrock. So maybe that's an effective tease for the After Schrock. Let's put it that way. Excuse me. We'll give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here. Let me refresh my page while I'm waiting as well, so that I'm watching along with you guys. I've often wondered if watching it on one computer while I'm sending it from the other computer is burdening their network here and causing it to buffer or filter more. I don't know that that's the case, but I definitely see the same filtering and buffering that you guys are seeing, where it stops and then it starts again. I can promise you it's none of the tech on my end. I've literally got a holiday special laptop running this radio show right now. I'm getting zero. The software, before with my old laptop, it would tell me I've dropped 20, 30 frames in a half an hour or something like that. And I always thought that was the internet connection. This new laptop is dropping no frames at all. It's perfect. It's sending every frame. It's just, for whatever reason, somebody's not keeping up with it. All right, Randy's here, back at the coffee pot. Ronald, Thor, for phone log, look at My Phone Explorer. It allows for phone log retrieval for all sent, received. Great program. Oh, nice. So that's My Phone Explorer. Thank you for that, Ronald. I appreciate it. Good morning, Leslie. Roger and Karen are back. More coffee. Good to have you. Oh, man, I don't know if you guys can see it, but half the show, like right now, I feel like I'm fighting down a yawn. I am so tired. Last night, I was laying in bed. Okay, so I'm going to bed, and I'm laying there, and I'm thinking about Adobe Illustrator, and it's making me so angry. And I have a customer who, he's just trying to run his business, and he's incredibly frustrated. And he's like, you guys sold me this stuff, and you guys, and we're just like, well, we built you computers based on a specification, and the computers exceed the specification. And then we signed a corporate service agreement, so we're on the hook for helping you with any technology problem. So we're going to troubleshoot through this, but yeah, it hasn't gone as well as he would have liked. And for me, that rubs me the wrong way, because he spent a lot of money with us. He put a lot of faith in our products and technology, and they're not doing something he needs to do. And in 22 years, I've never come across a problem that I can't find a solution to. Now, some of the limitations on this problem are self-imposed. So we don't like that solution because it has this other outcome that we don't like. For example, I can't use a shortcut on a keyboard that I'm really used to using, that I enjoy using, that allows me to be quickly precise in my work. I get that. I do understand that. Overall, everything's slow versus I can't use the shortcut. I would think that we would take the more perfect solution as we move forward, especially if the big concern is loss of productivity. That's not happening. So we're trying to switch the hardware out with hardware that shouldn't make a damn difference in the world. It's incredibly frustrating. The only thing we can think of is, we're running an AMD Ryzen chip with an AMD Radeon graphics card that supports OpenGL 4.0, that has 4 gigs of RAM, that has plenty, over 1,000 stream processors, should be able to do anything that Adobe Illustrator needs it to do. Yet, when you're going to zoom in and out, if you use Illustrator, you're going to zoom in and out, it takes literally 3 seconds to finish our zoom, to do a zoom refresh. It's ridiculous. If we put it on CPU only, so we remove the graphics card accelerating, if we put it CPU only, it's actually faster, which is not supposed to be the case. That's the whole point of GPU. So we're going to switch it out with an NVIDIA card to see if there's just some brand bias, some coding bias in their software toward NVIDIA, which has been the case in the past. So we're going to try that next. Lord, I hope that solves the problem, that I can make this put a solution on the table, because I understand my customer's frustrated, but my God, I'm frustrated. I'm laying there in bed last night thinking about this, and it's keeping me up. I was laying there for an hour and a half, like just playing through scenarios in my head, and it's like, I know I've got to call this customer, and I'm really not looking forward to the call. I'm going to schedule the call. And then I was like, okay, so I'm going to schedule the call. When should I schedule the call for? Then I'm like, well, I can't schedule it Tuesday because I'm driving to Illinois to pick up family to bring them back for Christmas. I mean, I could, but then I'd have the conversation in a car full of people, and that would be probably not productive. I could put it off till Wednesday, but that's a long time away when you ask for the call on a Friday. I was out of the office Friday, so I didn't see the request for a call until Saturday. And he said in the message he wanted a business day call, so I'm like, okay, we'll wait till a business day. I'll wait till Monday. So maybe I'll call him Monday, like, we can do it today, we can do it Wednesday. What day is Christmas Eve? It's like, that's Friday, so probably Monday the 20th or Wednesday or Thursday for a phone call. But it's going to be one of these phone calls where I know I'm just going to get yelled at because there isn't. Literally, we have the parts coming to try a solution, and I can't make him ship any faster. He was upset that they weren't shipping faster. It's graphics cards during Christmas. I can't do anything with that. We're doing everything we can do. So it's frustrating for everybody. But that kept me up last night. I was laying there. And I finally started to drift off to sleep. And my little guy comes in, my 3-year-old comes walking in. All right, come up into bed with me. Come on, let's get up in here. Oh, then he starts snoring. Then he's tossing and turning. And I'm like, I'm laying there. Then I have to go to the bathroom. I get up, go to the bathroom, go back to bed, laying there. I don't know how much sleep I got last night. I probably shouldn't think about it. I'm not going to check my watch because then I'll be more tired. But yeah, man, it's crazy. Oh, let's see. Jumping back into comments here. My CC keeps turning on by itself. Is that Facebook or something else? Your CC? CC cleaner? What's CC? Merry Christmas, Deborah. Merry Christmas, Deborah. Thank you. All righty. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Alan. Aaron, Facebook is slacking off sending out notifications that Facebook Live is live. I don't think it's that they're slacking off. I think that's that I'm not boosting it. That it's a money thing. We started doing Facebook Lives because they sent out notifications to everybody when you went live to bring in viewers. That's one of the reasons why when we start the Schrock, the After Schrock, we go through the comments first now, because that way it buys a little time for everybody else to get connected. You can see, like, when we started, we were at 10. We're up to 65 viewers now because people are finally getting the alerts that we're live and we're online. All right, greetings, Cheryl and Rich. Oh, closed caption. So the closed captions are turned on, but basically the broadcaster decides whether or not to turn them on or turn them off. So some broadcasts on Facebook have closed captioning with them and some do not. Because we broadcast so early in the morning, guys, I make sure it's turned on our broadcasts. So if you're laying there in bed with the volume turned way down, you get the closed captioning if you want it. All right. Merry Christmas, Keith. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. All right. So let's get to this story that I had to completely butcher at the end of the program. Big spenders. This is from 2020 because there is no 2021 data available. But big spenders on Amazon AWS. These are the top 10 companies that keep Amazon's cloud business in business. Numero uno, number one, is Netflix. If AWS is down, Netflix is down. End of the story. It's kind of interesting. In 2015, Amazon's cloud business was still a new thing, and Netflix was the biggest user. And they often push that cloud to its limit or even beyond its limit. And they were one of the driving reasons that Amazon developed the full range of business suite that they offer today, is because they were making it specifically for Netflix as Netflix grew. Because Netflix didn't have the infrastructure to deliver their own video content. They're using AWS to do that for them. Twitch is a video game streaming site. If you stream your video games there, you're using Amazon AWS. LinkedIn, social media, Facebook, if you're watching this right now, we are streaming probably over AWS. Turner Broadcasting, I thought that was crazy, a cable company, but sure enough, I'm sure they have the Turner Classics app or something, and they're streaming through that. The BBC actually is number 6 on the list, the number 6 top user of Amazon Web Services. They spend $9 million a year in 2020 compared to Netflix's $19 million at number 1. But still, $9 million, a lot of money. Baidu, Chinese firm. ESPN spends a lot with AWS, Adobe, and Twitter as well. So those are your top 10 users. So it's easy when these are the things that when AWS goes down like it did twice last week, these are the things that everybody complains about. I can't get on my Facebook. I can't watch my TV. I can't get on Netflix. Can't do this, can't do that. It's the little things, though, that you don't expect. Excuse me. Golly, more coffee. It's the little things that you don't expect, though, that get you. Like my Wise cams went down. So those are the cameras that we use to monitor the service centers. I've got a few of them in my house that are on a separate account. All the Wise cams went down. And the software that runs the Schrock desk, if we would have been subscribing to the cloud version of that software, which thankfully we have our own server that we were running, we would have been down. The Schrock desk would have been offline because they're reliant on Amazon AWS. I'm trying to think of all the other things. There were so many things that were down. All the Ecobee thermostats were offline. I mean, all the Internet of Things basically stopped working when the cloud went down. So the question is, how reliant are you on cloud computing? And, it's one thing if you can't watch your TV, right? Let me give you an example. We have a corporate client that exclusively uses Dropbox to store all of their stuff for their company. Do you think Dropbox has their own servers? Do you think there's a giant building somewhere in the Dropbox server farm where Dropbox securely stores all of your files? No, they're using Amazon or some other AWS. Maybe they have their own servers somewhere. I don't know for certain. I'm not saying that Dropbox is definitely insecure or not stable or anything like that. What I'm saying is when you talk about cloud computing, it's best to replace the word cloud with somebody else's computer and then ask yourself if you feel comfortable about that. I save all of my files from my company that are critical to the operation of my business on somebody else's computer. It sounds kind of silly when you say it like that. Kind of like, shouldn't we have a backup copy here on site? Shouldn't we be... What happens if the cloud goes down? A lot of people... Why do people do this? Why do businesses go to the cloud? It's a lot cheaper to leverage Amazon's existing infrastructure than it is to build your own. So let me give you an example. We have phone systems in the service centers. They're open source phone systems that we can program to do anything, and we have the staff on staff that can program them to do whatever we need to do. Our website sends automated phone calls. You probably received some of them about your antivirus expiring, things like that. We send automated emails. We can configure our phone system and send those calls programmatically through our phone system. Each service center has 4 phone lines. We could send up to 4 calls at a time if we wanted to busy all 4 phone lines in the service centers, which we wouldn't want to do because keep in mind people get voicemails and they call back. So at best we could busy 1 line and it would take the entire day to send the calls and it would be a non-optimal solution. With Amazon and Twilio, which uses Amazon services, we can leverage hundreds of phone lines to send the calls like that and have all of our phone lines available for customer responses coming back in. It's better service. It's cheaper. I don't have to have 100 phone lines. I didn't have to code a bunch of software to make it happen. I didn't have to deal with, there's an update. Now my software doesn't work anymore. Oh, man. It just works. Excuse me, guys. I really apologize. I really did not get a lot of sleep last night. It just works. So that's why people use Amazon and AWS. So a thought occurred to me. This is straight up conspiracy theory, right field, tired Thor brain putting 2 things together which may or may not be related. Why did Amazon go down last week? We covered that one last week on the program as best we could. Errant code was updated. There was errant code that caused unexpected cascade failure on Amazon. It took Amazon an entire day to find the errant code that caused the cascade failure. So the first thought I have is, if you're moving code from a test server into a production environment, because Amazon isn't making changes to their live production environment software. They're making it in a test bed, testing it, and then pushing it live on a schedule. That's how software development works. We push an update and everything goes down, or goes down a few hours later. It would seem to me that you could go back through those updates, like the log of the updates, know what was pushed, and then unpush it, right? You go back, you revert back to what you had before to see the problem resolved. Now, some of the problem was that Amazon was relying on their own AWS systems for their own internal logging. So when AWS went down, their internal tool system went down because it wasn't an isolated subsystem. They were just using their own computing power, which I guess if you have that much computing power, why not? So then all of a sudden we hear about a vulnerability called Log4j. The Log4j vulnerability is some inside baseball stuff that you probably haven't heard anything about if you're not reading tech news. But literally it is the single worst vulnerability in recent memory. This impacts Internet of Things devices. A lot of your website, if you have IP cameras at your house or your business, they probably have updates this week. You need to install the updates. They're Log4j. That's the vulnerability. They can take control of your cameras completely. Your servers, if you use Log4j for logging, it's a log file. It's a program that's used for capturing log files. Well, bad guys figured out a way that they could inject some stuff into it and use the logging file program to execute arbitrary code. Excuse me. They can use the logging program to create and execute errant code. Yeah. Video stream's not frozen. I'm just letting that sink in. Amazon went down because of errant code. They never said who made the errant code. When Facebook went down, they were like, one engineer in one place made this change to this router and caused a cascade failure that knocked Facebook off the internet. Literally, like, I was talking to some employees at Facebook. Facebook management sent people to go check on that guy. Like, did he off himself? Like, you just cost Mark Zuckerberg like $14 billion. Like, it was a mistake, and he still has a job. To Facebook's credit, they didn't like deep six the guy, or he made a mistake. You shoot your generals, and all of a sudden you don't have any army generals anymore, right? So anyway, they treated him real nice, but we didn't get any explanation like that from Amazon. It's almost like they didn't know who did it, but there's a log of everybody who does everything. So how do they not know? Or maybe they're just not saying. Maybe it was so errantly stupid they just don't want to admit it. I don't know. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're still trying to figure out where it came from. That's why there was a second smaller outage later in the week. Or maybe somebody is penetration testing Amazon Cloud. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. You want to screw up, America's ability to run its local infrastructure? You blow up AWS. Utilities rely on that. Companies rely on that. Logistics firms rely on that. AWS went down. Amazon was not able to deliver packages for 2 days. During Christmas, their entire network of flex drivers was offline. The people that they have an app on their phone and they can say, I'll deliver some packages for Amazon today. It's like Uber for packages. And then you drive to the Amazon warehouse and they throw packages in your trunk and they send addresses, and then you take them and you take a picture, and you've probably seen, like, why is that sketchy dude pulling boxes out of his trunk in front of my house? Oh, he's Amazon. That's weird. That's like a regular car. Yeah. Some people will actually rent trucks, rent a U-Haul, and then deliver Amazon packages in a U-Haul to make as much money as they can make on the holiday season. So anyway, all their delivery stuff was down because, of course, Amazon.com uses Amazon Web Services to power their Amazon website. I logged into my Amazon account and said I had no orders going back until 2018 was my most recent order in my Amazon shopping cart. Well, I knew that was wrong. So, literally, the world gets wacky without this stuff. So if you're running a business or you're running a household and you are completely reliant on cloud services, the other day, my wife and I, we had quite the DVD collection. We've accumulated a lot of DVDs back in the day. And my wife the other day brings in, we haven't opened these boxes in years because, everything's in the cloud now, right? You bought it on Amazon. You've got it there. You just play it on whatever device you want. What happens if that ever goes away? Like, you don't actually own what you buy on Amazon. You know that, right? Like, you don't own it. It's not yours. So what happens if that ever goes away? And so, my wife's like, hey, Thor, can you rip these DVDs so we can actually throw the discs away, but we'll keep digital copies? Not a bad plan. So I'll get a hard drive and put a bunch of digital copies. Are we ever going to plug that hard drive in and watch these movies? No, we have them all on Amazon. Why would we do that? But if Amazon ever would go down, well, then I guess I've got movies, right? I don't know. It's a stupid example, I guess, because movies are it's a frivolous entertainment thing. But now imagine that you're a business and you're completely relying on Dropbox because it's inconvenient to store the amount of files you want to store in one place. So you're going to rely on Dropbox to store those files instead. Perfectly legit. Dropbox has got a really good history, a really good record of storing things successfully, creating environments that people can collaborate and share. It works really, really well. But what happens if they go down? Your business is now completely idled. Done. What if you use Google Sheets and Google Docs and everything else? What if you have a Chromebook and Google goes down? What's your Chromebook good for? You can only do Google apps with it. That's a problem. What happens if your business is relying on Google Sheets or Google Docs for forms or processing or things like that? What happens if you're relying on any of the clouds? Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they all have their own clouds. They all do things with their clouds for customers. I don't know. To me, it seems like people have asked, Thor, should I go with an online backup or should I have a local backup? And, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. The online backup is obviously disaster resilient. You have a tornado that comes through and wipes your town off the face of the planet, your cloud backup is still there. External hard drive, not so much, right? Digital plague comes and scours your data off of a cloud, or worse yet, steals it from the cloud. And you can't undo that either. So it's like there's advantages and disadvantages to each. I'm a big proponent on having your own backups. I'm a big proponent of being self-reliant in that respect. Well, I still use cloud. Don't get me wrong. My phone is set up. It automatically uploads all of the photos I take with my phone to my Amazon cloud. Most of them are stupid things like the price of milk at the grocery store, where I'm like, holy crap, click. Do you see this craziness? Or when I'm going to Hy-Vee and someone keeps slapping those Biden stickers on the gas pumps and the staff is scraping them off as fast as they can, but they're getting to the point now where there's pieces of the sticker left and they can't get the whole thing off, so they're focusing on Biden's face. So it's just like a headless person pointing saying, I did that. I'm taking pictures of stupid stuff, right? So, that's the kind of stuff that's getting backed up in my Amazon cloud. So don't get too excited about what's getting backed up there. But, pictures of my kids and stuff like that, the gentleman who called in with the cell phone, the reason that I know that he wants to keep his phone card is because, thank God I did. Otherwise, I would have lost years of my kids' pictures under the assumption that Samsung's software is smart enough to know if I have enough room in the damn phone, because you're gonna get rid of SD cards. Like the new phones, none of them take SD cards anymore. So you have to buy a phone with more memory. I did buy the phone with more memory. Transfer my stuff when you're going to give me an app that says you're all transferred. And then I look at my pictures and there are pictures there. I don't scroll back 15 years to see if all the pictures of my son's birth are there. I just go back like the first few weeks and say, okay, they're all here. No. All these pictures that were on SD cards from older phones that had blurrier cameras and things. Oh my goodness. So literally I dumped them all into my phone. All into my current phone. So now the next time I do a Samsung transfer, it's going to take forever, but it's going to get it done. But you should have seen Amazon freaking out about backing that up. Woo! I get unlimited backup. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the fat guy at the buffet that eats the unlimited crab legs. This is bad. There's a lot of dada here that needs to get sent up to the webs. So anyway, it's one of those things, guys. Just keep it in mind. I'm not advocating against the use of the cloud. All I'm saying is keep a backup copy on your side as well, and then you've taken away the one of the biggest weak spots of the cloud, which is accessibility. If you have a backup in your home, on a hard drive, on a computer, on a server, something like that, not necessarily on a different cloud service because they could all be using the same infrastructure behind the scenes. You never know. You're gonna be thankful if something bad ever happens and something goes down. Keep in mind that most cloud services, especially free ones, do not guarantee that your data is safe. There is no liability if they lose your data. They try not to because it's obviously bad for business, but there have been instances in the past of Google losing Sheets and Docs data because of not breaches necessarily, but just equipment failure. All right, let's go back into these comments here. Scrolling. Hello, Mitch. Alrighty. Scrolling down. I generally download all updates from my iPhones. I assume this is correct. Yeah, if your Apple device tells you there's an update, there's an update. Alrighty. Thank you for the audio check, Winston. I appreciate it. I believe the federal government is a big AWS customer. Tech manuals are stored. Oh yeah. I mean, well, heck, they won that Jedi contract for a while. Now that's under question because, I don't know, politics. But yeah, the federal government is a big AWS user. In fact, the cloud computing companies and companies like Google are essential components of the defense industrial complex. We're talking about like quantum computing. Who do you think is doing that? Do you think there's a Project Manhattan in a building run by a bunch of, shadowy government figures that are building quantum computers? Heck no. That's being built in Sergey's basement over at Google. Yeah, with the killer robots and all the other stuff. Yeah, with the scary labs. That's where that's being built. Not in some government facility somewhere. The government can't get the talent to build this stuff. We were talking about MI6 a couple weeks ago, saying that they were having to outsource jobs to companies because they can't afford the talent, because the companies pay so much for it that you can't get talented people to work for the government anymore. Speaking of which, they closed the post office because of wind the other day. Not the mail carriers. They closed the actual building and sent people home because of wind. No tornado warnings, no thunderstorm warnings. There were expected to be straight line winds of 60 miles an hour, but it's a brand new building. You built it in Nebraska. So I'm just saying, if you didn't build it to withstand a 60 mile an hour straight line wind, you deserve to be in the building if you built it. It was very frustrating. I was like, since when is the post office? And then all the kids were home from school for wind. Papillion kept their kids in until 2 o'clock so they could call it a full day. OPS is a little smarter. They called it a virtual learning day so they don't have to count it as like a missed day of education. There wasn't no kids doing no virtual learning, though. No kids I saw were doing any virtual learning. Yeah, it's just for wind. And I don't want to be the old man who's like, back in my day. But I can honestly tell you that in my entire life, I have never had any classes ever, college, high school, elementary school, ever canceled due to wind. Never. Never one. Due to expected wind. Not even like, hey, it's blowing the school bus over derecho wind, but it's like, we expect high winds today. And there were high winds for sure. But they were in and out in like 15 minutes, and it was done. It's like, but I suppose if it would have been a tornado, I'd be singing a different story, right? Why were those kids in school, right? I don't know. You send them home where they can all be at home and not be together in one place in a safe building? I don't know. I just thought it was a little odd that the post office, of all places, the people who are supposed to deliver the mail, whether rain or sleet or, all that stuff, they closed for wind. I thought that was kind of funny. The prediction show. Yes, Mark, we're going to get to, that's better, what time like the present. So program notes. Thorstradamus has been working heavily on his predictions. He plans to share them with me next week. Once I have those predictions, I will put them together into a show, and I'm going to record that program. It is going to run, I believe, on January 2nd, which is the Sunday after New Year's. Yep. So basically, next week, the 26th, is the day after Christmas. I will not be live in the studio that day. It will be a best of show. There will not be an After Schrock next week. Thorstradamus is a pre-recorded show on the 2nd. So once again, there will not be an After Schrock, but that will be fresh content, Thorstradamus content, of all the predictions, both from previous year and next year. Honestly, guys, I think he's going to miss one this year. He predicted Bitcoin at 80 grand, and I don't see that happening before the end of the year. In fact, if you follow crypto, New Year's Eve, there is, crypto markets trade 24/7. So I don't know who thought it was a good idea to set up a whole bunch of expiring options on New Year's Eve night, but my gosh, there's a lot of them. It's like the largest single expiration of the year happening on New Year's Eve night, and when all these expire, nobody knows what's going to happen to the price. There's a lot of suspicion right now that the price of Bitcoin is getting monkey hammered lower through the end of the year so that large companies can sell their balance sheet Bitcoin at a loss. A lot of them bought near 50, 60 grand. If you can sell at 40 and you bought like your MicroStrategy and you bought like billions of dollars of Bitcoin and you can take a $20,000 per Bitcoin loss, turn around 1 second later and purchase it all back again, and now you booked these huge losses on the year. Yeah, it's called tax loss harvesting. Tax loss harvesting. Thank you. Sorry. The words in the brain aren't working well right now. Tired. But yeah, they're harvesting their tax losses. And that activity is causing weird volatility in the price of Bitcoin. In this month, Bitcoin was as high as almost 60,000 and as low as 42. Even for Bitcoin, that is epic volatility. We were right around 47,000 at airtime when the show went on the air. I don't know where it's at right now. It was right around 47 the start of the program. But yeah, I don't think we're going to break 50 again before the end of the year in any meaningful way. I think that the price is going to stay low. But then when we're at 47.9 right now. When these prices stay low like this, who knows what's going to happen on the first of the year, right? So the problem is when you have a downtime like this, people in crypto that have been here for a while, 20, 30% drops don't faze me. Not even a little bit. It's a buying opportunity. It's a sale. Buy some more crypto. I have a programmed weekly buy that happens no matter what. Just dollar cost averaging it in no matter what. So sometimes I'm buying at the highs, sometimes I get in at the lows, sometimes I get in the middle. But I'm buying every time. Retail investors are fickle. So we have a lot of new people, a lot of weak hands in crypto right now that are just getting into it for the first time. Maybe some of you bought crypto for family members as Christmas gifts. It's one of the most popular Christmas gifts this year because it's in stock, you see. And it's on sale. It's like one of those weird electronic goods, that's in stock and on sale, but supposedly in shortage. I'll tell you what's in shortage. Plastic trays that hold card readers are in shortage. Ryzen 7 5700G processors are in shortage. Memory chips are in shortage. Solid-state hard drives are going into shortage. Power supply and Windows 11 license costs are going up. It's crazy. So anyway, the crypto price is going to rebound off of this. The question is when. It is going to go up. So I would encourage you, if you're in cryptocurrencies right now, maybe if you're new to crypto and you're like, I tried to get in on this and I always miss the boat because I always jump in after everyone else is there and then I lose money and I sell at a loss. There's one easy way to stop that from happening. Don't sell at a loss. Just don't sell. Unless you're tax loss harvesting, which means you're going to sell it and you're going to immediately buy it back. Most people don't have enough crypto for that to make sense, okay? Don't sell at a loss. Just hold. Forget you have it. Go have a Merry Christmas. Go to that New Year's Eve party. Get a new treadmill in January. Sell it on Craigslist or Facebook on February. March or April, get bored one day and say, I wonder what that crypto's doing. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know how long it's going to take, guys. It's very possible we could see $100,000 crypto next year, $100,000 Bitcoin. It's possible the price of Ethereum could have a rocket. There's some fundamental changes that I won't go into in the price of the design of Ethereum that are going to make it very deflationary. That could actually make it more valuable than Bitcoin because it's also useful for things. It's craziness. If you prefer physical metals, I read a really interesting article. It was a mind-bending, technical article that made my brain hurt. That's why I was trying to read it at Texas Roadhouse with two screaming kids. That's effective. But basically, the long story short was the writing is on the wall for the U.S. dollar. Everybody knows it. Anybody in power knows it. That's why the IMF is building their special drawing rights and getting that ready to take over the world's reserve currency status. It's not a matter of if the dollar falls, it's a matter of when it falls and how hard it falls and how soft the landing is. In the meantime, in what would be counterintuitive to that whole concept, the dollar appears to be strengthening. But I thought there was tons of inflation causing the purchasing power of the dollar to go down. How can the purchasing power of a currency go down while it is strengthening? And then this article went into all these basically derivative shenanigans that are being done that basically suck dollars in and then tie them up into agreements so they can't circulate. And because these derivative agreements are so profitable, everybody in the financial world wants more derivative agreements. So they're sucking more dollars, and there's a giant suction of dollars going into these derivative agreements, locking these dollars up in these agreements, which end up generating a whole bunch of profit for people, which is then just getting flipped into more derivatives, right? So the dollars are not ever circulating, they're just getting sucked in. So we printed a bunch of money and gave it to all the normal people. And normal people do what normal people be doing. They spent the dollars. The dineros are flowing. And that's causing inflation. All the bond purchases that have been going on this whole time have not caused inflation because the money hasn't been circulating. The problem is, though, eventually, at some point, something is going to go wrong. The derivative market, someone's going to lose a bet in the derivative market, and it's going to force an unwind. Kind of like what happened in 2008 with the mortgage crisis. Except now the derivative market is so much bigger than Bear Stearns. It makes Bear Stearns look like a kindergarten. I mean, it's ginormous, the amount of money. So the Fed's going to tighten. The Fed's going to raise interest rates. This article was like, none of it matters. None of it matters long term. The Fed has lost control. Any illusion they have of control is monkeying around the edges. They don't have control. The derivative market has control of interest rates. And as long as derivatives keep sucking in dollars as fast as they can print them, what's going to actually happen is when the Fed tightens and stops buying as many bonds, stops putting out as much money, it's going to cause the dollar shortage to get worse, which is going to make the dollar even stronger while we have record-setting inflation. I mean, literally, you can't invent this many problems at one time. And I'm reading this article, and I'm like, so where do you put your money? If interest rates are going up, that means housing prices are coming down. If we're waiting for this derivative pin to hit this derivative bubble and pop it, which is going to crash the dollar when that happens, and then everyone's going to move to this. Somehow, there's going to be a migration to some new reserve currency. So owning things that are worth something seems to be the only approach. Owning productive assets are the only approach. There's the only approach that allows you to protect investment wealth and protect your family's wealth. So productive assets are things like farms, things that produce stuff. Not the family farm, with turkeys and stuff. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Oh, it's a family turkey farm. That's a tax write-off. Not like Ben Nelson's farm. Come on. It's got to be an actual farm. Or something productive, or the house you live in. It's a productive asset. You're living in it. The cars that you drive are productive assets. Not usually productive assets, but in this world they are. It's just weird. So is crypto a productive asset? How about gold? Is gold a productive asset? A lot of people make fun of gold and say it's just a pet rock. Like, I bought a pet rock. It sits in a safe. It doesn't earn me any interest. Doesn't earn me any money. Just sits there and depreciates over and over and over again. Well, at least with crypto, you see the Bitcoin people will say, at least with crypto, you could double your money in a year. Look at how much crypto is. Crypto has outperformed every single asset in existence this year. Crypto has outperformed. If you bought one Bitcoin at the start of the year, you couldn't have put that money anywhere else and made more money. Even after a 30% correction, it's up that much. But what happens if there's a dollar implosion? Do you really think that Bitcoin isn't going to be impacted by that? Volatility is going to go off the charts, that's for sure. What do you think is going to happen to the price of gold if there's a dollar crisis? The price of gold would probably go up, right? Or would it go down? as people sell their gold because their dollars are worthless and they need to eat. And people are willing to sell their gold at any price. So the volatility is going to go off the charts. So maybe you bet on volatility. I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor. If you get your investment advice from the computer repair guy, you get what you deserve. All I'm saying is this article was a Zero Hedge article. Zero Hedge is providing free premium access this week to everybody. So if you want to try out some of their premium articles, they'll bend your head. They will. They are very, very inside baseball. But it's just not. It's still not worth it enough to me that I would spend $50 a month for access to like the 4 premium articles a month that you get. But I'll take the free access and read the article and bend my mind around it. But it was an incredibly interesting, in-depth story to read about the complexities of how everything in this financial market is interrelated and the possibility of a policy error by the Fed. It's not just a possibility. No matter what the Fed does, it's a likelihood it's going to cause an error, no matter what the Fed does. That they're going to tighten and then they're going to have to loosen. Or they're going to loosen and then they're going to have to tighten. Or they're going to have to tighten, loosen. Or they're going to have to just keep tightening in the face of worsening conditions going into an election. That's not going to happen. Come on, we all know that. So yeah, it's interesting stuff to take a look at for sure. Oh, let's see. The front desk staff in Papillion office is knowledgeable, courteous, and helpful. I will tell Marissa you said that. You think you just made Marissa's day. That's awesome. The AWS thing kind of explains why Amazon Alexa was refusing to turn my lights on and off. Yeah, it totally does. Anything that was cloud controlled was down. Our open signs in the service center stopped working. I mean, they were on or off, whatever they were on or off, but they didn't turn on and turn off at the prescribed times like they're supposed to. Staff could not make software updates without a tracking work order assigned to that team. They know who, when, and why the event occurred. That's what I thought too, Don, that someone like Amazon would know. Now, maybe Amazon is so bureaucratically complex that the knowledge was saved in Amazon Web Service stuff. So maybe now they know like what happened going back. But at the time they didn't know. They knew it was errant code, but they didn't know who did it or what because they lost access to their own reporting tools when their stuff went down. But all the same, you think they would have said something. And they haven't. Oh, excuse me, guys. Everyone should have a copy of, let's see, the Idiocracy movie and be required to watch it before Election Day. I guess I haven't seen that one. Wells Fargo closed the IR Bank. I'm not sure what that is. Not sure what that is, Don. I don't feel good. Probably going to go back to bed. Okay. All right, Aaron. I hope you feel better. So when will Skynet be activated? Well, some people think it already has been. I saw a graphic on Zero Hedge again. It was what dystopian novel are we living in right now? And literally it was like a Venn diagram with all the circles, overlapping circles. And all the circles overlapped in the middle, and that's where we were at. We're in every single one of them. It's 1984. It's Animal Farm. It's Brave New World. It's all of them. It's A Handmaid's Tale. It's everything all together. It's Hunger Games. I mean, it's all right there. The Matrix was a little tiny dot in there too. It was just crazy. Alrighty. I didn't say anything about the dollar crashing in 2022. The funny thing is these people are incredibly smart. And it would be an incredibly catastrophic thing for this country to have the dollar lose its reserve currency status. Incredibly catastrophic to the point I don't think the American public is ready to deal with the fallout of that. So you lose reserve status. What changes? The price of gasoline goes up to European prices overnight, forever, because everything's priced in dollars, so we get it cheaper. Dollar loses its reserve world currency status. We can't deficit spend anymore. Well, we can, but we can't monetize our own inflation because no one will want to buy our bonds anymore because nobody will want dollars. So why would you buy a dollar-denominated bond? We're going to have to get creative and start denominating our bonds in some other currency like Bitcoin, like El Salvador is doing, or some other currency because, and that's the whole point of the IMF saying special SDRs are going to be the new currency. We'll have a digital SDR, and we'll call them digital dollars or whatever we have to call them to make people feel better. But it'll be a brand new currency, and it'll take the place of the dollar, and everyone will be on an even footing, and everybody's equal at that point. It'll say there'll be a great reset for the whole world. No more deficit spending. Just imagine what that does. So the federal government will not be able to bail out the states in the event of natural disasters anymore. Not like they do now. So states are going to have to actually save money and put it back for when natural disasters strike, which seems to be pretty often. The federal government will not be able to spend endlessly on weapons of war and, militarism adventures. So the world is going to become a more dangerous place because America's going to have to pull back from a lot of, kettles that they were holding the lid shut on, basically, and have been for a long time. No more social spending. Yep. Any programming, Social Security would probably keep going because of the political fallout if it didn't. But there would be no more new additional programs. All the AOC stuff, all the Build Back Better garbage is gone. Roads, bridges, yep, they're states' responsibilities now. Sorry, we'll take care of the federal roads and bridges over federal interstates, but highways, byways, things like that, you're going to have to take care of that state of Nebraska, which of course we don't have the money to do. Which means we'll have to raise gasoline taxes because that's the only way the governments get money is to take it. So there's that. Oh, let's see, what else would happen? Food prices would accelerate dramatically. Asset prices would be repriced in new currency. Nobody would want the old currency, so anything priced in dollars would become incredibly expensive. The number of dollars required to purchase something would be very high. Think like wheelbarrows of money high. It would not be a pleasant experience. And I think it would be a shock to a lot of people who are not grounded in reality, that don't understand that printing money is real money, even if it's not circulating, that spending money you don't have is something you can't do forever. Eventually you have to stop and reverse it and put that money back. And the problem that we have now is, if we put money back for 100 years and we stopped deficit spending today and we put money back for 100 years, I don't think we would be caught up because of the interest payments on the debt. We're at that point where even at 1% interest, the Fed can't afford to raise the interest rate because the U.S. government can't afford the interest payments. It's going to be a scary situation when our kids have to deal with this, guys. And like I said, I don't think it's going to happen in 2022. I'm not predicting doom. I'm not Thor Stradamus here, I'm not predicting the fall of civilization. But we're definitely planting the seeds for that bounty eventually. And it's going to take people smarter than me to figure out how to turn that around, I think. I'm not sure that they're in the Fed right now, or the federal government for that matter, right now or ever. But yeah, I don't know. How do you get a bunch of politicians to stop spending money to buy votes? Biden does it. Trump did it. They all do it. The stimulus checks, come on, that was a straight vote buy. Straight vote buy all the way around from everybody. If you recall, Trump wanted the checks to be bigger because they weren't big enough. He wanted to sign them himself, but the Treasury Department said that, Mr. President, you don't have the ability to sign Treasury checks. You're not authorized. You're not authorized on the account, sir. And just because I'm not getting political here, I'm not criticizing individual politicians. I'm just saying that there is no holy sanctum of conservative fiscal responsibility. It just doesn't exist anymore. When what was the name of that? The guy that's always talking about lower taxes. What's his name? Oh my gosh. I can't think of his name. But he runs a tax foundation that is focused on explaining supply side on taxes, how taking people's money actually gives you less tax revenue than letting people keep their money and invest it and taking a smaller tax percentage. You actually make more money as the federal government. I can't think of his name, though. His foundation took the PPP bailouts. I took the PPP stuff too. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, if your whole thing is don't take government handouts, and then you take the government handouts and you say, well, we took the government handouts because the government shut us down, and if the government can shut us down, they have to give us a handout. I see the logic there, but it doesn't seem very principled, So I don't think we We don't have those people of principle anymore. We just don't have them. And if we do have them, they're quiet or they're silenced or they're not able to tweet or they're not able to share their thoughts on Facebook. Or if they do, they're called racists or they're called all kinds of other nasty names. So I don't know where those people are. Hopefully we find them soon, because otherwise we're in for a rough ride. We're in for a winter of what is it? Death and sickness and death. Like Merry Christmas. Oh boy. All right. So anyway, guys, on that note, final aftershock of the year. I can't let it end on a negative note. I really appreciate the fact that you guys are here. I really appreciate the fact that you listen to the show. It means a lot to me. There are days today when it's tougher to do the show because I'm tired, but I would not miss this for the world. I love this. This is the part of my job that I love doing. I get up every Sunday morning to come in here and do this show, and I'm never grumpy about it. I'm never upset about it. Now, when I get home, I might be grumpy and tired, but I'm always excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here with you, and I appreciate the fact that you're here because otherwise I'm just talking to myself. That's why I hate doing recorded shows. I really do. I'm doing the recorded shows, guys, because with the holiday stuff, number one, my family would like to see me on the holidays. They're stupid. Number two, if I come in here, I force other people to come in here. Roger's got to come in here if I come in to do a live show, and he's working. If I want to come in and do an aftershock, I have to keep somebody here for an extra hour while they make sure I don't steal the silver. So it's one of those things where I don't want to bring those people in and make them take time out of their holidays either. But I do want to give you guys as much fresh content as I can. So that's why I'm going to record a Thorstradamus program for you that is, I think it could be one of the most consequential Thorstradamus shows ever. First incorrect prediction ever. So something's definitely going awry in the world. 20 years without a miss, and he gets a miss in 2021? What's up with that? He nailed 2020. He gets a miss in 2021? No, maybe it goes to 80,000 overnight. Maybe New Year's Eve, maybe on New Year's Eve, all those Bitcoin options expire, causing an explosive increase in the price of Bitcoin, briefly touching $80,000. Wouldn't that be something? Because I would have recorded the show with the predictions and called him on the miss in the recorded program, only to have him laugh and say, and I have to issue a correction. The first show of 2022, I have to start it off with a correction. So who knows what's going to happen, but I don't think you're going to want to miss it because 2022, we all thought 2021, we're like, whoo, thank God 2020 is over. What couldn't possibly get off? Hold my beer. Craziness. We got guys wearing thongs on their faces on airplanes, getting kicked off of airplanes. People falling asleep with their mask down, getting kicked off of airplanes. Mandates, people against mandates, people for mandates. Schools teaching things, crazy things in some opinions. Parents getting upset about it. Parents getting investigated by the FBI. It's like, what is happening? I don't want to say 2022 can't get worse. There's a concept called the Overton window. You Google it. This is normal. We shift normal just a little bit this way. Now this is normal. We sit here for a second. And we shifted a little bit more. But if you look at the original shift, you went from here to here, which would have been a huge shift, a painful shift. But because you did it in slow steps, yeah, it was more tolerable. So I don't want to say that 2022 is going to be a hold my beer kind of year, but it definitely has the possibility. There's some midterm elections coming that are going to be crazy, guys. All the crazies are going to be out on both sides of the aisle. And I'm increasingly getting to the point where, you know what, if Pfizer says that their vaccine doesn't do anything for Omicron and the president's going to hold a press conference and say that you need to get boosted to fight Omicron, Pfizer says they can have an Omicron-specific booster done in 100 days. Dr. Fauci says that that's not necessary. Can everybody just get together and one page? I mean, just same thing going forward. CEOs of airlines come out and say face masks don't do anything because we have HEPA filtration on the planes now. congressmen get upset with CEOs of airlines for saying that masks aren't doing anything on planes when they're not doing anything on planes. You can make arguments for masks in other environments where there's no HEPA filtration, I guess. Or maybe, maybe it's just easier to keep masks on people all the time so that there's no confusion about where they should or shouldn't wear them. That's why I quit reading Facebook, guys. It got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of being angry with my neighbor. I'm tired of my neighbor being angry with me. I'm tired of being upset. I'm tired of being tired. The other day I was like, my wife, why is life so complicated? Why can't anything in life be easy and simple? And I think the answer is because we make things as complicated as we want them to be. My life could be incredibly simple, but I wouldn't be here on the radio talking to you then. My life could be incredibly simple, but I wouldn't have the amazing company with the amazing employees that I have. When the IRS sends you back a check for your second quarter payroll taxes, and it's all of them. Literally, they send us a check back for like $40,000. We get this check in the mail, and we're like, it's a check from the IRS for $40,000. Should I cash it? Let me call the accountant. Well, how much did you pay in payroll taxes in the second quarter? Because that's what that's for. Like, well, $38,900, and they gave you 42 back or whatever. Like, yeah. No, we paid 42. They gave us 39 back. That's what it was. I think you incurred more than $2,000 in payroll taxes in the second quarter. I think that's a mistake. Don't cash the check, because if you cash that check, then it's like you never made those payments, and they're all late, and they all have penalties and interest. And I'm like, that is exactly something the federal government would do, is send everybody these checks. Google it. I Googled the code on the check. Lots of businesses got them. Watch businesses cash the check. Woohoo! End of the year, baby. 39 grand in the bank. And then all of a sudden, you owe $147,000 in taxes and penalties. What? Now we can afford Build Back Better. Woohoo! Yay, go CBO. CBO. Yeah, it's... You just got to kind of smile and laugh, or you'll cry. But I don't know. I think my New Year's resolution might actually just be control what you can control and let go of what you can't control. Because I can't control the fact that Adobe Illustrator is crap software that apparently doesn't know its own system requirements. Can't control that. All I can do is try to make a computer that's going to work good for a client. That's what I can control. All right, guys. Got to roll. Have a happy New Year. I won't talk to you face to face like this again for the rest of the year. So I want you to have a happy New Year. I want you to have a great Christmas. Spend time with your family. Enjoy this time. Stay healthy. Don't get sick if you can help it, obviously. But overall, I hope you have a great holiday season and a wonderful 2022 to come. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys, and have a great afternoon.